A true baby carry 2011 is something people have been asking for. The Colt Mustang got us close, but 7 rounds of .380 wasn't cutting it to be a commercial success in a modern format. So Kimber updated the Mustang pattern to work with double stack magazines with their CDS9, with magazines available of 10, 13, or 15 rounds. The problem with the CDS9 was its price tag, which sits at the better part of $1,000. The CDS9 Classic builds from that with a more minimalist approach and a price tag that should be more appetizing, with it likely to street around $700. Real quickly, if you're watching this video and like videos like this, please consider subscribing. I realize it's early in the video to ask, but if you're still around in a few, think about it. So the CDS9 Classic is different from the original CDS9 in a couple ways that I think end users probably aren't going to particularly care about, because the gun is every bit as capable, the trigger's not any worse. Like, all the stuff that people really care about aren't really compromised on this pistol. And obviously I put the purple grips on it purely because the Ultimate Warrior is my spirit animal. See? So I'll talk you through the differences of what the CDS9 Classic is to the full pop CDS9, the performance of it as a carry gun, the aftermarket kind of status as it sits now, and let's get into it. So real quickly, a disclaimer, Kimber did send this gun in for video. That doesn't mean any punches get pulled or anything like that. But I also do need to kind of give you guys a quick history lesson. During COVID, basically Kimber shut down their Yonkers, New York production facility, moved it down to Troy, Alabama with new machines, new workforce, new QC, new kind of everything. So who Kimber is today is a very different company from who they were 5 or 6 years ago, at least with respect to their production operation. So real quickly, in summary, the big changes on the pistol are largely less machine time in machining. You may have noticed this absolutely striking honed finish flat on the side of the slide with sort of a two-tone Kim Pro finish. The original CDS9 has fish scales, and it is a much nicer, like from an aesthetic standpoint, slide cut, but it's not any more functional from a practical standpoint. It still basically manipulates the same. It's just you get a less expensive finish to put on the slide. Coming down onto the grips, the texture on the grips, you've got polymer grips that have the fissured texture that mirrors the texture on the side of the base pads, and they kind of kept that going at the back of the gun, where on the original gun there is a mainspring housing out of aluminum with a grenade pattern, and it's a polymer mainspring housing here with that same fissured texture. The front strap, this is the only area where there is a feature actually removed. The grenade pattern on the front strap is gone, and it's just smooth and slick. It's not that big a deal because it's not super bitey on the other gun, and it is a carry gun. The geometry of this gun is so squared away that you're really kind of locking it in your grip based on how the gun is shaped more so than traction. You may miss it, but I didn't really notice it to be a difference. In fact, I got a little bit better purchase from the OEM grips when I was shooting it than I did the G10 grips that came on the full pop gun. As far as how it functions as a carry gun, I have it right here with a 13 round magazine. It comes with a 13 and 15 round magazine. The 15 round magazine just looks kind of weird. The proportion of it is like kind of too long in the grip, where like the grip is longer than the slide, and that just for some reason offends me. But they also make a 10 round, just kind of 2.5 fingered grip magazine as well. So it ends up being a pretty nice little light carry gun. The trigger on this is actually quite interesting. You can see the trigger bow that goes around the magazine inside the grip that is basically a hybrid sort of hinged sliding trigger. What happens is this little trigger, even though it's hinged at the top, it pushes straight back on the front of that trigger bow, which then slides straight to the rear. So it feels very much like a sliding trigger like you get on a full-size 2011, but it's not. It's this weird kind of hybrid design. It actually works incredibly well. The trigger pull weight is incredibly clean on the gun, and I can say that the machining has improved specifically as it relates to the safeties. I have one of the early production models of the CDS9 when they were thinking about calling it the Micro 9 DS, which is why you see that on the frame. But the safety fit is notably better on this gun than it was that gun. But as the gun is concerned, it does have ambi safeties that are pretty trim. They're easy enough to get the knuckle of your thumb on for a carry gun. The muzzle is kind of short and all of the weight is carried in the grip. So if you get a flush length holster, which all of them are at this point, the grip wants to kind of turn out from your waistband. The initial holsters that came out at launch, I wasn't a big fan of. But Muddy River Tactical came out with their holster for it, and it is pretty much good to go. If the holster body length was just a little bit longer to prevent the grip from wanting to turn out over the waistband, I'd appreciate it, but it still conceals very well and carries very well. I've been very happy with that Muddy River Tactical holster. To my knowledge, that's the best one going at the time of doing this video. I actually do carry the original CDS9 a good bit, and I'll probably swap it out for this one because I'm a vain creature and this one just looks so heavy metal. One thing I can say is that the Kimber finish does kind of come off the high points as it interacts with the holster. It just kind of rubs off over time, very much kind of like a Cerakote finish. Actually shooting the gun, it is a flippy aluminum little gun. Now, all short barrel guns are flippy, and because it does have an aluminum frame, it does not compress any in recoil, so all the energy comes back into your joints and wrist as the gun flips. That said, it's not unpleasant to shoot. It's actually pretty nice to shoot. When I took it to my fancy indoor gun club and rested it on a fancy gun rest because I am a fancy man, I was able to put out pretty good groups with just 115 range loads. And at 25 yards using the Buffalo Creek range loads, that's honestly not a bad group. Buffalo Creek supports the channel. This can help you out if you want to go check them out. And the MSRP on this pistol is $850, but if you go on any of the gun buying websites, you can see that Kimbers generally sell for less than what their MSRP is. I am projecting that this will probably sell closer to the $700 mark, which $700 for an aluminum single action only hammer fired gun is a pretty good deal. I still need to check out the CSX Enhance. I have not looked at that pistol yet. And sort of the other complaints about the gun is it is a wide grip. Now, it is about 1.1 inches thick, which most of the skinny little baby carry guns are like 0.8 or so inches, so it is a little bit thicker, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's bad from a carry standpoint because it's like a little brick in your waistband, sort of like a Glock 26, although not quite that bad. But when you're actually shooting the gun, it is broad enough that it spreads out the recoil across a bigger surface area of your palm. You know, some of those little skinny baby carry guns that just feels like you're getting like kicked in the middle of your hand like this. It's not quite that bad with this gun. The other thing, and I'm going to beat this drum until gun companies listen to me, is that it has a 12 o'clock port to witness whether or not the chamber is loaded. Why not put that over the extractor cut right there? That's just a better place for it. It's so much better to do on the side because this creates a little jet of hot gas when you shoot it. If you actually use an optic, it will cloud the lens. No optic ready gun should have a 12 o'clock port ever. Now, this one's not an issue for me, but I can expect a lot of people probably will because these guns are very pretty. The Kimber finish, as I mentioned, wears out on the high points kind of like a Cerakote would. And specifically these stainless flats, if you actually look at it, you can see kind of some marks that are on the side of it from where when I was putting it into the gun safe, it made contact with some other metal and it just kind of marred the finish. So the finish is going to show marks if you bang the gun into stuff. I mean, kind of makes sense. But it's such a pretty gun, I imagine that the OCD people are going to have a big issue with that. As far as reliability is concerned, I did test the operational window of the gun, meaning that, you know, can it take hot ammo? Can it take really weak ammo? Kind of how does the gun work with different types of ammo? So I tried it with a bunch of different hollow points on the original gun. I didn't do it with this particular gun because when I realized it fed the carry ammo that I like to use, that was good enough for me. But the original gun performed notably well with all the different ammo types that I cared to put through the gun. And round count on my original version of the gun is into the 4 figures, probably low 4 figures, probably just over 1,000 rounds or so. This one got over 500 through it, and I had literally zero issues with either gun. I would absolutely show you any problems I had with the gun, but I honestly didn't even have any like hammer the slide into battery off feeding a new fresh mag into the gun. Like there were no problems. The CDS9 is only available in 9mm, which honestly is kind of like the king of the carry calibers right now. And out of a tiny little form factor gun like this, I could see maybe doing 380, but you know, any other caliber doesn't really make sense to me. No, they're not doing it in 10mm. You guys are nuts. As a carry gun, I think the CDS9 Classic is the way the gun should have been out of the box with the initial launch. I think the price point that it's going to hit at and the value that it brings with the optics cut, the full ambi controls, the really good single action trigger, I think there's a lot going for this gun as a carry gun. And now that the holster market has finally started to catch up with it, hopefully we'll continue to see more holsters from more sort of high-end appendix rig makers. And with the CDS9 Classic styling, like the fact that it has removable grip panels, you can really make the gun your own. Just a simple grip swap made this gun look just absolutely killer. I just love the way this gun looks. Like, it kind of elevates the gun into sort of this, like, it's not just a utilitarian tool, but there's kind of a soft little emotional piece to it as well. And yeah, you guys can make fun of me for it being purple. That's fine. So thanks to Kimber for sending the gun in for video. You can check out the original video on the CDS9 if you want even more information with kind of engineering stuff. And as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.